Welcome, ladies and gents. Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter. Of course, you can subscribe to the channel. Let's talk boxing. Let's talk about MAIRIS BRIEDIS against JAI OPETAIA. A lot of people have asked me about this fight, and because the last video I brought you a couple of days ago was the first in about 9 days, I've been run off my feet. I've been so busy, and I will continue to be busy, unfortunately, over the next week or two. So I do apologize in advance that the content isn't going to be as consistent, perhaps, as you guys would like it, and I haven't been able to bring all the footage that I would have wanted to bring for this video to back up what I'm saying. But I have brought a couple of clips together, which I'll show you later on in the video, of certain elements that I want you guys to look at. But the point is, I'm really looking forward to this fight because from what I've seen, and there isn't much of JAI OPETAIA online, I've seen one full fight which didn't go the distance, and I've seen some extended highlights too. But from what I've seen, he looks like a very, very talented guy. Well, I'm not saying OPETAIA is going to beat MAIRIS BRIEDIS, but he has the tools that would enable him potentially to beat MAIRIS BRIEDIS. So let's talk about this, because there are also intangibles that we don't know about. He could get caught with a big shot early on and then not have the cojones, as Sergio Mora would say, to get up and see the fight out. You've got to have those elements to your game. I don't know whether OPETAIA's got that. What is his chin like? What is he like when he's gassed, when he's tired, when he's not in control and looking slick and boxing? There are too many intangibles that I just don't know about. But from what I do see, you're talking about a guy who's very fluid on his feet. Aesthetically, there's a little bit of Billy Joe Saunders there and a little bit of Dimitri Bivol too. Saunders in the way he will feint his way in, come in behind a long sort of jab where he'll poke you with it, sometimes sit on it and more powerful jab, and then take sort of like a hop back and before a step back and make you fall short before he comes back in again. Fluidity of how he can bring some straighter shots together sometimes reminds me a little bit of Dimitri Bivol in his entry point. So there are elements there which are really good to look at aesthetically. There are some errors he makes though, not because he's incapable biomechanically of rectifying them, because he's capable of doing all the things he needs to do, but he makes some errors of choice or tactics, or perhaps he gets lazy, but they could cost him in this fight against Briedis, and we'll talk about that later when I do show you a little video. And long-time subscribers will know that when Briedis was unknown outside of Latvia, I was basically saying this guy could potentially get to the top of the sport. Apart from Usyk, who it didn't take a genius to know that Usyk was going to be something special. Apart from him, I felt that this was the cruiserweight that was really going to step up and go and become something special. And after they'd established themselves, those two, when Okolie started coming through as well, I started to talk about Okolie. But pre-Okolie, it was Briedis that I felt would be the guy that would really step up and become something special. And one of the reasons is his adaptability, his adjustability. I felt that not only could he do something brilliant at cruiserweight, but also at heavyweight, because his feet are so fast. This is a guy that can come forward and maul you and fight on the inside and be dirty. We know he can be dirty, right? And he can be a power puncher, or he can get on the back foot and box. And one of the problems that cruiserweights have when they move up to heavyweight is not what they're capable of doing to the heavyweights. They're more than capable of hurting the heavyweights. One of the problems they have is what they're able to absorb in return. And so the cruiserweights that tend to do best at heavyweight are not the thick-set, hard cruiserweights that are perhaps, tough guys at cruiserweight, because they come up against bigger, stronger men and their toughness just doesn't translate. It's the movers. It's the guys that can be fighting a raiding style, an ambush style, the David Hayes of the world, right? Those sorts of cruiserweights tend to do better, Alexander Usyk, because they're harder to catch. You can only knock a guy out if he's there to be hit. If he's not and he's hitting you and getting out, that could cause you a whole host of problems. And Tyson Fury has said in the past, cruiserweights actually hit harder than heavyweights because they're big guys and they have the power that a heavyweight could have, but they're more explosive and faster in terms of their speed, and it's the shots you don't see coming that are the ones that affect you, and you don't see it because it's more sudden with a cruiserweight. Fury's words, not mine. So Briedis is adjustable, and I felt like he could get to the top of the sport. In the last few years, he's not been as active. In 2021, 2020, and 2019, he had one fight in each of those. And so I can understand if people drop him on their pound-for-pound list, but there was a point where both Ring Magazine, I think it was, and certainly BoxRec had him in the top 10 pound-for-pound fighters in the world. I think he was ranked at 8th at one stage, then 13th, but he's sort of in that sort of range between 8 and 13. One of the things he's also very good at is showing slight upper body movement when he's looking to engage just on the edge of range. So even if you want to pop him with a jab and, just time him and keep him on the end of a jab, something that OPETAIA might be looking to do, it's hard to do that to him. Another decorated amateur that didn't really do it at the pro level like he would have wanted to, but was, a Commonwealth gold medalist, was Simon Vallely, and he stopped him early inside 3 rounds because he's got brilliant timing with his shots over the opponent's shots. So if you throw a left hand, he's very good at timing that and throwing a shot of his own over the top. And if you then decide to start, you know, being a little bit more in your shell, he's got a lovely uppercut. So he's got great shot variation and timing as well. And what he did against Valili was make himself a hard target to hit with those slight shifts in his upper body movement. And so he's also not easy to get to. But if Opetaia is able to start timing him in the same way that Canelo's upper body movement is very good, and he made Bivol miss a lot, right? But Bivol was able to land quite a lot as well. If he's able to do that and land a lot and maintain some good movement and get Briedis to constantly reset, who knows if he could start to outwork Briedis early on. Now, Briedis' ability to cut off the ring is also fantastic. His timing is also very good when he's targeting you to the body. So if you're the one bouncing around him, not only will he cut off the ring on you like he did to Alexander Usyk, he'll time you on your way in where he'll start to target the body in a bid to slow you down. How tough is Opetaia and can he come through those things? Well, one of the problems that he has is that he's not particularly great at tying a guy up on the inside. He will leave an opponent's arm free sometimes. He can't afford to do that. He had to have worked on his clinch game. So that's going to be interesting to see. The other problem that he has is that when he's inside the pocket, he can be a little bit lazy and he can keep his head on the line. Here's some clips to show you exactly what it is that I'm talking about. You're going to see him up against a couple of journeymen, or certainly one journeyman in Navosa Iwata. The other one is Nicholas Haralambous, who is a New Zealand fighter. He was 18-2, and it's hard to call someone a journeyman when they've got a winning record. For me, anyway. For me, a journeyman is a guy who gets his gloves, decides that he's going to travel from one show to another, knowing almost that he's going to lose in order to collect a paycheck. Whereas when you've got a record like 18-2, now he's 20-6, by the way, 3 years on, you've got some sort of ambition. So rather than calling him a journeyman, maybe it would be better served to call him a domestic level fighter. Either way, none of these guys that he's been in with are anywhere near the level of MAIRIS BRIEDIS. Nonetheless, I want to show you an area that MAIRIS BRIEDIS can exploit, and he's very good at exploiting. This is an example of them being in the clinch. On the left here is Opetaia. Out of the clinch, he'll throw a few body shots, and then he gets caught with a left hook. You see that? And this is a problem that he's got, in that he will stay in the pocket with his head on the line and sometimes just swing for the fences without necessarily taking his head off the line. See it here again in slow motion. Right hook to the body, left hook to the body, right hook to the head. So he's varying up his own hooking, but then gets caught with a left hook. The MAIRIS BRIEDIS left hook is a devastating punch, and he can be susceptible to getting caught with these left hooks. These are the sorts of shots that could change the trajectory of the entire fight. Here it was a very easy entry point for Haralambous. He held up a high guard and he just decided to step in. And what do we see when he's there? Left hook to the body. That triggers a couple of left hooks in return from JAI. And then he gets caught with that big left hand as he throws his own left hook. You see that? So he's susceptible to being hit with a left hook as he squares up sometimes on the inside. When he gets a little bit too greedy, when he wants to throw more than one or two shots, when he really wants to hold his feet and let go of his hands, he can start to get caught with shots. Here again, you see Haralambous is up against the ropes. So now JAI is hunting. He's the guy that's looking to get forward. And you can see how he gets too greedy again and he gets caught with that uppercut there. Again here, he decides to engage. Lands a lovely left hand. Now, as you can see, Haralambous is in no position here. He dips to the side and he's given away the backside of his shoulder. From here, Opetaia should just step around him. He doesn't do that. He allows Haralambous to re-establish his balance, decides he's just going to cover up, stays in the pocket. Okay, at least he's covering up, but gets caught with a couple of left hooks to the body just for no reason. So he landed a nice eye-catching shot, a single shot, and then he goes and gets caught with a couple of left hooks to the body. What for? He seems to do this sometimes where he just stays in the pocket. Even there, in the pocket, the clinch wasn't great. He gets caught with a right hook. This one is against Navosa Iwata. And you can see he's the one here in the camouflage shorts. He lands the right hook, and as he tries to pivot out, he doesn't affect the construct. He hasn't sort of blinded the opponent to what he's trying to do. And as he pivots out, he gets caught with a left hook over the top of the shoulder, and that sends him flying. Look at it again in slow motion. Bang, that really affects him. And that shot over the shoulder, over the arm of the opponent who's throwing a punch, is one of Briedis' best shots. His timing for it is fantastic. So he's going to have to be very careful in these sorts of scenarios here. Again, you see him here where he's not punished for it. But I want you to see him how he enters the pocket. Look how high his head is and where it is on the line. So he's thrown a backhand to first engage. Now he's coming with a really big lead left hook. Now he's going to throw the backhand from here. And as he does, you can see his head's still kind of on the line. So he's still susceptible to being hit with a shot here. Then he throws a big wide right hook. Again, head directly on the line. Left hand comes away from his face again. He's just a sitting duck there on the line. Now, you might get away with it against guys like this, Novosa Ioata, but are you going to get away with it against MAIRIS BRIEDIS? Now, this is not to say he's not capable of doing what he needs to do, because his biomechanics are fantastic. He's not rough and rugged and incapable of doing certain things. He's capable. Maybe he just gets lazy because he doesn't see these guys as a threat. Or maybe it is a limitation he has that when he gets greedy, his understanding of what he needs to do to stay safe just isn't quite there. Who knows? But we see the capabilities, the biomechanic capabilities, in various examples too. Here you see him engage with the jab, then he'll land a lovely right hand and then left sort of hook where he's sort of bending low beneath the potential left hand counter. That's the sort of movement you're going to have to see consistently against a guy like MAIRIS BRIEDIS. In this particular exchange, he slips inside the attempted lead right hand of Haralambos. The left hand doesn't really land. Haralambos is able to sort of block it, but then he's able to slip back towards the other side after a little pivot off of his lead foot, and the right hand is able to come in beautifully and land flush. That's a lovely shot. He changed his height dynamic. He then leant on Haralambos, and then look how he shifts his weight to essentially slide to the other corner of the ring there. So he's changed the angle on him, which forces Haralambos to reset. This sort of thing is fantastic lateral movement. There you see him with a lovely right hand left hook combination, and as he threw the left hook, just a little rewind there, he comes underneath the shot of Haralambos, the attempted counter there, coming under the shot inside the pocket. This is something he's going to have to also be aware of, because MAIRIS BRIEDIS has that very dangerous left hook over the lead shot. He also has a devastating uppercut, MAIRIS BRIEDIS. So he can't do it consistently because he'll end up ducking onto an uppercut, and that could really hurt him. But the point is, with a whole bunch of movement, you see him there pivot out as well, with a whole bunch of this type of movement, he's going to be able to perhaps box at range and do very well against BRIEDIS. Up close, he's going to have to still employ that movement. BRIEDIS does have this propensity to come in forward quite aggressively and quickly, and if he does that, he can sometimes smother his own work. He can fall into an opponent. Because BRIEDIS likes to often run in, literally run in on an opponent behind a flurry of shots, and he's got fast feet, so he's sudden with it. If Opetaia can deal with that suddenness and jump back and throw punches off of the back foot, something he's very, very good at. He's very good at jumping off the back foot and throwing these hooks and producing power as he's moving backwards. If he can do that and mix that up with sometimes messing with the range and coming forward, messing with the distance, when he's expecting you to move back, you actually come low and you thrust your shoulder into the solar plexus, into the midriff of BRIEDIS, and then rise up and get underhooks in, something that Devin Haney had a lot of success against Kambosos doing, something that Jack Cattrall had a lot of success doing against Josh Taylor. If you can mix that up with jumping off the back foot and luring him onto shots to punish him, you could have some real success in that moment. So these are areas where I really hope he's worked on, but they're also areas where if he hasn't perfected, I expect BRIEDIS to have some devastating success. The fact of the matter is, Opetaia has never been at this level, and so although this could be a breakout fight, the fact of the matter is, BRIEDIS is tried and tested, and he hasn't shown that much decline. I don't think he's quite as fast as he used to be, and he has been focused way too much on Jake Paul for my liking, and trying to get that big payday, perhaps looking for those cash out fights. So you also have to ask yourself where his mind is. But nonetheless, I still think there's probably enough there for BRIEDIS, but I would not be surprised at all if we see a new breakout star with Opetaia and having to come through some scary moments, but perhaps see the fight out and win the fight on points. Let me know what you think, ladies and gents, about this fight. How do you see it going? Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care. God bless.